Okay, I'd like to call the July 22nd, 2025 Planning Commission regular meeting to order. The Planning Commission is holding hybrid meetings. Members of the public can attend the meeting in person or observe the meeting on Zoom online by visiting www.cityofarcata.org and following the live meetings link at the bottom of the city's homepage or on the city's YouTube channel. If you are attending remotely, please be aware that the Zoom feed provides the closest to real-time stream. If you rely on the other feeds and you wish to make comments, please be aware of the time lag on those feeds. The first item on our agenda is the land acknowledgement. The City of Arcata acknowledges that the lands we are located on are the unceded ancestral lands of the Wiyot tribe. The land that Arcata rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Gudene, meaning over in the woods or among the redwoods. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments remove the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from the land and threaten to destroy their cultural practices. The City of Arcata acknowledges the Wiyot community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement seeks to aid in dismantling the legacy of narratives of settler colonialism. Staff, will you please call roll?
Yes. Chair Simmons?
Here.
Vice Chair Strickland?
Here.
Commissioner Tegney?
Here.
Commissioner Lehman?
Here.
Commissioner Hickey?
Here.
And Commissioner Ham and Davies are absent.
And we are joined today by Community Development Deputy Director Jennifer Dart and Senior Planner Joe Mateer. Next, we have oral communications. During this time, people may make comments about items that are not on the agenda. If you wish to speak on one of our agenda items, you will have the opportunity when we are discussing those items. If you have comments about the items that are not listed on our agenda today, please line up now behind the lectern.
McGarry, and I want to talk about bicycles and bicycle parking. I've got the electric bike now, and I don't know if I've shared with the Planning Commission the fact that the trail that goes to Eureka, I've taken it 3 times now, and it's great. But once I get to a destination, finding safe parking for an expensive bike is a challenge, and also the ability to recharge it if it needs to be recharged, because the current EV charging stations for automobiles don't have adapters for bicycles. Or, you know, what I did is I went to a business that I know of when I went over to Eureka and went inside, and they let me plug it in their kitchen, and I had to wait for a while and this and that. But, you know, I really think it's important as we move into the future, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, getting people out of cars as much as possible, accommodating those of us who want to do the better thing. I'm willing to ride it, but it's scary to park it. And so the Earth Center hopefully will be designed. I mean, if Arcata can let Eureka know and HTA know that we really need adequate long-term parking, you know, for those of us who are going to hop on a bus down to Ukiah and beyond. So just really thinking outside the path for bicycles. And the back part of that is housing. I live in an apartment, a 1-bedroom. It's not the biggest place in the world, and I have to put my e-bike, thank God I'm on the first floor, but it still has 3 steps up to it. But there's no safe place for me to park outside. And I actually have my trike sort of hidden in a place that's not really safe. But I just really think we need to accommodate in new housing bicycle parking that's not in somebody's livable space. So parking for destinations, parking for where you live, and places to recharge e-bikes, you know, and sheltered too, you know, in inclement weather. So just really think about the future for those of us who are going to and are willing to get out of cars and do things differently. So I just wanted to make that as a prominent statement. The Climate Action Plan, I just want you to know, is supposedly coming into fruition, the regional plan. And so it's really important that Arcata gets on top of this kind of idea. So new housing production, old housing, what can we do to help people like me with our electric bikes or just our regular bikes or trikes?
Thank you. And I actually neglected to say that folks on Zoom can also participate in open public comment. Was there anyone on Zoom who raised their hand? And if you have not, please do so now.
Not at this point.
Okay. With that, we will now move on to item 3, which is the consent calendar. We have one item on consent, which is to approve the Planning Commission meetings from our regular meeting on July 8th, 2025. Would any commissioner like to pull the item, or do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now we'll move on to public hearings. We have one public hearing today, which is to consider approval of a use permit for Hounds of Humboldt. Can we begin with a staff report?
Yes, good evening. My name is Joe Mateer, Senior Planner with the City of Arcata, the assigned planner for this project. Before you this evening is a use permit and a minor use permit. We combined that as one use permit for a Hounds of Humboldt. It's a business that is a commercial indoor and outdoor dog park with the alcohol sales. There's an action in your packet, attachment A, and staff is recommending that the Commission consider approving the use permit by adopting the environmental review exemption for the California Environmental Quality Act, Class 3, Section 15303, conversion of small structures exemption, and then the action of the Planning Commission, attachment A, that includes the findings of approval, Exhibit 1, conditions of approval, Exhibit 2, and those are based on the project description and plan set that will be found in Exhibit 3. Hounds of Humboldt, it's a unique business venture that we haven't seen before. Categorizing it in the land use table and the nomenclature we have was quite the challenge, but we had navigated it through. The general plan and zoning is industrial limited, that's the city-wide. And the parcel is it's in the coastal zone and has coastal industrial commercial. It's a use permit for a bar and tavern, and then a minor use permit for the commercial recreation aspect of it. It is in the coastal zone, the state permitted jurisdiction. So after city action, the applicant will go to the local state office and inquire about any coastal development permits. Early consultation with them through the referral process did indicate a possible likelihood of a coastal development permit waiver. So as a condition of approval, you'll see that that is one of the aspects that we'll want is to see, has the state issued a coastal development permit or have they issued a waiver? The lease area for the site is about 3,600 square feet for the indoor portion and about 2,400 square feet for the outdoor area where the dogs will be and some of the public members as well. They have the limited hours of operation. That's kind of just what the plans are for now. Often when a business operates, they go ahead and adapt their management plan based on the clientele they have. So we do see that they're closed one day. It happens to be a Tuesday that they're closed. If they close any other day because that's a downtime, we're fine with that. The hours are kind of between 5 to 8, maybe 10 hours a day. 8 o'clock is the closing time, and that seems like an appropriate time to close. So there is a little bit of flexibility with that as well. They estimate between 20 customers per day on a slow day and up to maybe 60 on a busier day. The project does require a permit from the California Alcoholic Beverage Control, most likely a Type 41, that would be for on-site consumption of beer and wine. This is the vicinity map here. I colored the location of the lease area. It's about a 4.4 acre parcel right across from the parking lot of the Arcata Wildlife Marsh and Wildlife Sanctuary. It's multiple buildings and tenants on the site. We estimate that it's about close to 5,500 square feet of a building footprint. There are some two-story buildings out there, portions of them, so the actual floor area might be a little larger than that. So there's multiple tenants, multiple businesses operating there, multiple access points and everything going there. It's this is the street frontage from South G Street. I think it was back in 2024. We do have the fence. This would be the outdoor play area for the dogs. Some of these windows will be changed to be operable where they can open those up, so you could either sit inside with the windows fully open, or you could sit out on the outside of it and watch your dogs play and have a beverage there. I'm going to switch to the building floor plans now. Here we have more of a kind of a site plan. This would be South G Street on the left. We do have a food truck that's kind of right in the driveway there, but the applicant has decided to pull that from this review right at this point. This would be the outdoor play area for the dogs. And this is the seating area. I talked about the revisions to the building elevation where there's solid unoperable windows now, and they'll make it so you can be kind of an indoor-outdoor experience there. They do have kind of seating and dining areas. The pets would be allowed in this area, and then they do have indoor play areas here. We have bathrooms and storage areas and offices and maybe even smaller areas that may be a quieter zone for those shy dogs, I guess. The area for the beverage services is in this area right here. And yeah, so that's kind of the site plan there. These stairs are exterior stairs that lead up to other lease area that is not part of this project here. Do have to change the scale as we move through here. This is again a little bit more of the indoor area. They do have some large fans for ventilation. There is a roll-up door here, and all indications indicate that the roll-up door will not be open during normal business hours, but they will need to use that to bring in supplies, equipment, and things like that. And if they're doing a deep cleaning or something like that, they may have that. There is a portion of the north elevation where there is a little bit of space from the north elevation of the building to the property line there. Here's some building elevations. This would be the front, west elevation. You can see the outdoor seating area here. So there is a slight change in some of the window configuration there. Vehicles will probably park in this area, come inside the fenced area, and then enter the building through this door. And then the beverage services will be out here. This is the staircase that leads to the other lease areas that are not a part of the project here. Again, the food truck is not part of your review tonight. They do show kind of the chain link fence here, and it almost appears that there's some slats or pallets, I think they call them, kind of a screening for the chain link fence, but I do not know if that is necessarily part of the application for you to consider. And then we have the north elevation, and again, there is a little bit of a slight area for storage. They do expect to have their solid waste and recycling area in this area, and then bring it around to the south elevation for pickup by the Recology services. We do have some other kind of perspectives. I know the paper copies that you received in your packet are kind of difficult. I'd be happy to share and zoom in with any of these, but they are kind of do just give kind of a different view of the interior of the space. So I could certainly, during deliberations, or if you do have any further questions, the commission, you can request that I bring this element back for you. And going back. So Exhibit 1 includes findings of approval, and it's based on the general plan and zoning compliance. And then we do have findings for their environmental review. Again, staff recommends the categorical exemption, Class 3, conversion of small structures there. The findings do include discussion of why we support that CEQA finding. We added some conditions of approval that are unique for this particular project. We have some noise management, possibly from excessive barking or music. The findings do discuss sources of noise. This potentially could be a noise generator, and it would be from the excessive dogs barking or excessive barking from dogs. And they do plan to have some sort of music, background music in the venue itself. And, really the music is something that you can control by the volume, so that's completely a management decision. Excessive barking, pretty much it's the owner of the pet that would be kind of responsible for that. And again, that would be management managing their clients and customers. So there is a condition of approval just to kind of address that. Water quality and odor control, and that's pretty much from maybe the concentration of dog and urine feces, both in the indoor and outdoor areas. Again, that's kind of a management thing, but we felt that we really need to have kind of a little more detailed plans for that. And, I think that when I say management, they're certainly going to maintain a clean facility, or else the customers are probably not going to want to utilize those services there. Access, wayfinding, sidewalk, and parking, I kind of clumped them all into the circulation. It's on South G Street. The city of Arcata is in the early stages of looking at the south of Samoa and South G Street for transportation, multimodal access, beautification. It's we're in the early stages. We've done some existing conditions. We've done some outreach to the public. And we would really like to allow some flexibility. The condition of approval says to the satisfaction of the city engineer, so that it allows some flexibility. We expect that the business will want to operate as soon as possible, and that those plans for street improvements and beautification along there are not going to meet their timeline. And so we want to allow some flexibility for that. When I mention about access, it's South G Street, and that's why we're doing the study, is because there's no public transportation south of G Street, hit and miss on the sidewalks. It's a truck route. And, we do have business locations and focal points where people want to go to destinations out there, mainly the Arcata Marsh and Wildlife Sanctuary. There is a high concentration of residential density in some of those areas down there. It is a long-standing industrial site, and so we do have a lot of those legacy parcels and development and structures from that legacy past that was really an automobile-dependent society back then. And so we're trying to add some conditions of approval because it's a commercial business bringing people onto a site that has multiple tenants. There's a lack of wayfinding on there. There's like 3 different driveway entrances. There's no striping or signing, or probably I would say I'm not a tenant there. I'm not a property owner there. They probably indicate that there's no problem. People will park where they want to. It's kind of the path of least resistance. They'll just do what they want. Bringing people on site, we want to try to have a little bit more review of that. Customers are going to come to the site possibly with a vehicle, maybe multiple animals they're going to be getting out of a vehicle. I've been in situations where, they see a squirrel, it bolts or something like that. So we want to have a little control. It is across from the marsh, and then to the west, and then to the east, we do through the property. On the other side of the property, there are some agricultural lands. It's probably unlikely we're going to have any issues like that, but we wanted to kind of really have an idea of where the customers are going to park, where they're going to safely get out of their vehicle and not compete with any other users and tenants on the site. kind of give an idea for those other tenants that rent and lease these buildings, that they have the opportunity to not be impacted by other tenants as well. So that's one of the reasons we have those conditions of approval there. Former tenants put up the chain link fence. The fence is not compliant with the current zoning code, and so we added a condition of approval there. Some of the early site plan had the food truck really close to the entrance, and the site visibility and things like that were impacted by that. We do realize the importance of having a confined space for those animals when they're there. We don't want them to be running out into South G Street or through the parking lot or into the agricultural fields. So we added, a condition of approval to address that as well. There's conditions of approval to meet the county health department. They have beverage service areas, and so the beverage service area has to be a dog-free zone according to the referral comments we had from them. And once a customer purchases a beverage at that service counter, it could be an alcoholic or non-alcoholic drink, they can choose, it's a consumer choice, to move outside of that dog-free zone to a dog area. So they just want that clear definition of, this is a dog-free zone, this is where you can purchase your beverages, this is where we clean and do all the cleaning of the materials or the equipment and service drinks and beverages and stuff like that. And then once they leave that area, they can go anywhere. The California Alcoholic Beverage Control, they need a defined space of where you can purchase that, or where you can purchase and consume those alcoholic beverages. So there may be portions of the site that would allow the alcoholic beverages to be, and where they're not. Maybe the far end on the west towards the street, South G Street, they might say, hey, look, we only want alcoholic beverages not beyond this point. So there's some condition of approval to address those. The California Regional Water Quality Board had kind of an interesting comment on the project. They had a condition of, or they made a recommendation that there's kind of a light touch on any ground disturbing activities, to have kind of a soil ground management contingency plan in case they come across any of the contaminants, legacy contaminants from the former industrial uses at the site. It is not on the Cortese list. It's not on the GeoTracker site. They have no records. There's no known contaminants on the site. I do want to make that clear. But just based on their comment, we added that condition of approval as well. The foodware comment is the city of Arcata does try to do waste reduction, and we weren't sure what type of beverage containers they were going to have at the facility. If they're glass and they break, it's not good for the paws. The dogs, they whispered to me, they said, please no breaking glass there. But we did want to make sure that they are aware of the city of Arcata's municipal code for foodware. And so we have that condition there. Again, the staff recommends the commission consider approving this by adopting the environmental exemption, the action, findings, conditions, and they're all based on the project and the conditions of approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you for that staff report. Are there any clarifying questions from the commission? And these are high-level clarifying before we go into discussion.
The issue about the beverage containers, did you make that a condition of approval that they use, you mentioned in the write-up, stainless steel, rather than paper cups or disposable cups?
The city has a municipal code that already controls those disposable items. So we just wanted to make them the business aware that in case they did not want to use glass, that there's restrictions on the type of foodware disposable that they could have. So it would have to be compostable is one item you could have.
Dan?
Yeah, is there some kind of process of re-reviewing this fence lack of compliance?
This is a discretionary permit, and I believe that the commission does have the prerogative, the ability to revise that fence condition if there's something. We don't necessarily, typically, if there's a fence or something within the vision clearance triangle, which this fence is located in the vision clearance triangle, that typically we have review as a vision clearance waiver, and we typically review that with the chief of police and the city engineer. We had no comments from the police department, and I've had extensive discussions with the city engineer on this.
What alternatives are there, Joe, for the fence?
You know, streamline permit is meet the code.
And what would the code say?
It would
about
have to
that
be
fence?
set back 10 feet from the property line. The northwest property corner, that same vision clearance is the 15 feet is there as well. So there are some options for that. Lower it to 3 feet in height or push it back and meet the.
Well, so we're getting into deliberate, but this was actually I don't think for a dog park you want a 3-foot fence, right, going on to South G. And so, yeah. And so I'm curious if there's any thought about if the existing fence is actually more appropriate in some way than the setback 3-foot fence that our code would require. I don't know if other commissioners have.
If the commission wants to consider a site modification to allow the encroachment into the setbacks, that's your decision.
I would think that we would consult with the neighboring property owner. Was the setback of the fence and the height and its non-compliance an issue that was brought forward by just our having visited the site, or was it a property owner neighboring potentially that had an issue with this?
This is just staff analysis. We typically, staff doesn't, when we're in the approval process, we approve things that meet the code.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
The previous fence, I assume, was just erected without a permit, and that's why it's not set back properly?
That's my understanding. It was put up without prior review.
Okay, so I think these are just clarifying questions, and then we'll jump into discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment. We typically allow the applicant an opportunity to present their project first. Would the applicant like to present?
Thank you for having this hearing and going through with reviewing this permit. I have been working on this project since March, since the pandemic. This was my business class senior project, and it is now coming to full fruition, so this means a lot. Being here in this room, never thought that the project I wrote for a grade was going to go all the way. And I just want to say that the community support for this project is here, and I'm glad to see that there's some city and staff support and understanding of how beneficial this can be for the community. And yeah, I'm not sure what else. Yeah.
Are you Gloria Baker?
Yeah, hi, sorry, I'm Gloria. And anything else?
Do you have any thoughts on what we were saying about the fence?
I think the current fence is great. But I also understand code concept, but in the end, no fencing is gonna hold me back, so whatever we gotta do. It'll hold the dogs back, but I will go forward with whatever we gotta do, no matter the fence situation, so, yeah.
Would a fence that is back further from the road with these corners cut off, would that put a kibosh on your project?
It would make it less fun for everyone, I think, but also a different kind of, I intended for what the current fencing to increase safety with certain visibility guidelines of mesh 3 foot and down, so dogs can't see out, due to environmental stressors. but the current fencing is ideal. If I have to do things to get it more up to code or update anything, but a setback would hinder a bit of the space, but yeah.
Just because I'm having trouble totally visualizing it, if the setback, a new fence that respects the setback were put in place, how much total outdoor play space would be left?
Well, we can assume that the property line is the curb here. And so already we have some distance there. I don't know what that is, probably three feet. And then we have this point, basically you'd go here 15 feet, here 15 feet, and then cut off there. So this could be a fence that's 3 feet and maybe a little landscape there, something that isn't going to get tall and block vision. I'd have to take a look at the driveway, see where this driveway is here, because this could be an important vision clearance as well here. But, they could just drop the fence 3 feet here and push whatever they have back, or modify it. And maybe some landscaping on here could be a compromise.
Okay. Do you have anything else for us as an
No.
applicant? Okay,
Yeah.
so then I think I'm going to open general public comment.
Okay.
And everyone will get 3 minutes, and then we will move on to deliberation. Please line up behind the lectern if you would like to give public comment.
So do we each get 3 minutes to?
You each get 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I prepared a small speech, so good evening, council members. My name is Haley. I'm a local dog owner, and I also volunteer at the Humboldt County Animal Shelter with the dogs. So I'm someone who's really passionate about dogs and just bringing our small community together in positive and creative ways. So I'm here to voice my strong support for Gloria's indoor-outdoor dog park tap room. I've known Gloria since we were both in business school together at Humboldt State, so I've kind of seen the development of this whole project over the last few years, so I'm really excited about it, and I know that she's put a lot of thought into it. She's an avid member of our community and has strong connections in various areas, including local event planning, which she does all the time, and helping small businesses, including the fence company that I actually work for. So as someone who volunteers with shelter dogs, I see a huge opportunity here. Dogs who come to this park, the shelter dogs, could meet potential adopters in a safe, low-stress environment, which could lead to more dogs finding homes. The shelter is a really stressful environment for the dogs and causes them to behave differently. It's called kennel behavior, and that often turns adopters away because they see this dog that's being crazy in this kennel in the shelter, which is, again, a really stressful environment. And as volunteers of the shelter, we can take dogs out on daily excursions away from the shelter. And so this space would provide another opportunity for us to bring the shelter dogs there, to just socialize them, help enrich their lives, and again, connect to them with potential adopters. I know there's concerns that come with a business idea like this, but knowing Gloria's background in business and her work ethic and knowledge in business in general, I firmly believe that she is prepared to take on any of the challenges. And then as far as the fencing, I work for a fence company, so I'm someone that could assist in getting the fence up to code as needed. And the fence business is a small company. There's 4 of us, and we're all huge dog lovers, so I think we'd all be more than happy to provide a very reasonable price to help get the fence up to code however needed. So I think the business is thoughtful, responsible, and brings something new and meaningful to Arcata, so I urge everyone to support it, not just for Gloria, but for the people, dogs, and community connections it can foster. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to give comment?
Yeah, my name is Tim Lorenzo. I've owned this property since '98. First, I want to talk about the noise. Above, upstairs, for probably, gosh, at least 20 years, there's been bands up there. 30 years. Never had one complaint. It's a great area for noise, for one. Plenty of parking there. I don't know how long that fence has been there. I didn't put it in there, the tenant did, but it's been there a long time. And there used to be a big bush right here. When he moved out, I took it out, a windmill and everything. But that fence,
Excuse me, can you speak into the mic because we have
Sorry.
public members out there?
all that was grown over. And, but even then, it wasn't a problem getting out of the driveway. And with that chain link fence, you can see really well, there's no issues getting out of the driveway. The issue that I didn't want to bring up here, and I might do it on where they're talking about revamping South G Street, but there's big trucks parked out there. They're the only things that ever block the view getting in and out of there. But that chain link fence, you don't even know it's there. You honestly don't know it's there. Other than that, that's about, I'm in support of small businesses in the area, creating jobs, and I'm really excited about this business. I really think it's a good fit. That's all I have.
Hi, my name's Pam Baker. I just happen to be Gloria's mom, and I too am super thrilled to see it finally in your office here. I wanted to comment again about the fence, and like Tim said, there's great clearance, and that curb is set back off of this edge of the road probably 8 to 10 feet. So that curb is far away from the edge of the road already. And that size of that yard is perfectly sized for a dog to get up a little speed and have time to stop. And if it's supposed to be an outdoors play space, to take 10 feet off of that would really change the energy of that space dramatically. And also, like Tim said, big trucks are what are blocking the view currently. Right to the north, where that what might be a driveway, there's the big Buddy's truck parks right there. And on the other side, at the front of that other building, big trucks park right there. But aside from that, there's enough there's enough space to pull up from that curbing and look. If those trucks weren't there, it'd be really great view, no obstacles whatsoever. And if there's any history of collisions from people coming out of that lot, it certainly hasn't made the news. So I just want to say, if there's any way that we can make an exception for that fence space, it really is ideal, and I think that's one of those things that made Gloria commit to this space, was that outside space being just prime for the outside aspect of this combination experience. If that's the make or break of making this space all it can be, I don't see any reason why it needs to be changed based on the historical footprint. Again, that fence has been there for a long time, but the idea of having the 3-foot shielding up so the dogs aren't exposed to externals is an amazing idea, and it shouldn't detract from the visibility if that's what we're looking to do. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Joanne McGarry, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe this fence was put up without permission, but when you're thinking about dogs and the need to have higher fences than what code requires, this, allow this to be, exempt from the code because it's there. This project, I'm so excited about this project because it's using an industrial space for a new futuristic concept for a small business that really fits Arcata. And the fact that we don't have enough dog recreation and dog-centered stuff in our progressive community is sort of startling to me. We have tons of plastic playgrounds for children all over the place, but we just got our first public dog park up in Valley West, and that fence is actually way too low in the front, as far as I'm concerned. So I think what Gloria is proposing here is so exciting, and what I'd like to say is connecting all the concepts, as Mr. Mateer has said, is that the SAMSIP, the South of Samoa project, South G Street, you know, making it safe for people to walk across from perhaps a marsh parking lot where they've walked their dogs in the park, put a colorful crosswalk so people can get across, really incentivizing this whole area, because from this, I can see a lot of different projects and businesses growing from this, you know, dog transportation, you know, there's a lot of communities that have dog buses that people utilize, and there's just so much. And I just want to share that I spent 16 and a half years in San Francisco working at the San Francisco SPCA, which was on the cutting edge of taking and doing projects and designing spaces uniquely to adapt for cats and dogs in the urban environs. And this, you know, it's evolved since I left there 25 years ago, but this is the kind of stuff that the future calls for, and so anything we can do to promote this. The only thing I really want to make clear is when you're inside the building, if there is a dog or person misbehaving in any one of those rooms, we need to make sure there's maybe what we call an escape route. So if something's happening in front of the access to that space, how can people remove themselves from that safely? That's something I just would like people to consider. But I think I'd love to help Gloria with this project.
Thanks, Joanne. Okay, anyone else in the room?
I just wanted to say a couple things. My name's Amy Bonner. I have the distillery that's 2 doors down from this location. Also a tenant of Tim's, who is very supportive of small business, which has really helped us over the years. I was going to touch on a few things. The fencing is actually a lot better since Tim took out the bushes from, so we're the green awning there is our distillery. And sometimes when I'm leaving, I'll actually come out this exit right here instead of the other exit route, because we love our neighbors, the scrap metal yard, but they do park very large trucks out there. And sometimes I can't see to get out, so I will use this because of the see-through fence. Noise, I wanted to mention, there's a lot of bands that actually have band practice near us. Certainly up above Hounds of Humboldt, but also around the corner from us. And you really can't hear it when you walk even like 30 feet away. Our distillery has a window wall, and we open that wide, and we have music and people, and no, we've never gotten a complaint in 2 years, just because it's such an industrial area. And then as far as parking, I actually love the idea of Hounds of Humboldt being open when we are. I feel like we'll share customers. We have a lot of people that walk. So many people walk by our place to the Marsh and to Redwood Curtain Brewery. So there's a lot of walkers and bike riders. We put a bike rack out front that Gloria's customers could use. And people park all over. They park in the Marsh parking lot. They park down this alleyway here. We've never had people complain about parking to come to our location, so I feel like there's room for Gloria's customers as well.
Can anyone else who's going to speak line up just so that we can, thank you.
Hello, my name is Taylor. I've never met her before. I came here with Haley. I heard about the project today, but I've been to several bars exactly like it with a bunch of dogs. And when you think about a bunch of dogs, 20 dogs in one place, sometimes people think, oh, problems, barking, and I've never seen any problems, any excess barking. The music was louder than the dogs. I went to a bar in Kansas City. They had 30 dogs outside, and it was perfectly fine. No problems. All the dogs could socialize. It was great. And then I also lived in a small town in Alaska where I went to a bar that had dogs within this fence. Also, no problems. So I just wanted to share because I am in great support, even though I don't know her. But I think it's a cool idea, and I think it would bring a lot of young people and dogs and bring more community. It's a really awesome plan.
Steve Bonner. I'm a tenant also down in this area. I am also the one who drew the plans for this project. In terms of noise, my wife and I did a field trip and we went to maybe 3 dog parks. And the big thing that was at all of these dog parks, there was actually no barking. And one of the people there that kind of showed me kind of how they run their business was they don't allow resource guarding. That was her term. And there was never dogs barking. So there's a neutral space for the dog that we've designed. There's no water. You can't bring their own toys. It's all very neutral. So in terms of sound, I would say Hambro is our loudest. They are incredibly loud. Recycling, who has no coastal permit or they didn't even come, I don't believe they had a plan set before the Planning Commission. But if you're addressing a noise element, they would be the first one that I think that would be addressed. They also bring a new clientele down there that fence helps keep out. We have quite a bit of people that bring recycling down in shopping carts, and they leave all kinds of clutter on this property. They can't really get it into her fenced yard, but my wife and I are constantly moving shopping carts, garbage bags, and refuse. That is a little challenging. So I'm not saying fence everything, but it's a challenge in this town to keep your property or your business looking nice if you allow people to come on it willy-nilly. So I understand the vision clearance. If you look at the property, the curb from the existing fence is 5 feet. It's another 15 feet of which could be sidewalk. I don't know what Arcata's plan is in terms of sidewalk, but if it's a 4-foot sidewalk, it could be popped out a little bit, and the fence maybe has a small modification of 1 or 2 feet, but there's quite a bit of real estate from the road over to the property line. I'm in favor of this project, but I'm kind of biased because I think we're the ones that will be building it. But I think she's done her research. We've done our research. I don't see dog barking as a problem, and I don't see any odor as a problem because we are definitely addressing odor issues. Thank you.
Okay.
You have 2 online.
Yeah, so that's everyone in the room, and we now have 2 folks online. First online caller.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Hi, thank you for your time. My name is Rachel Smith, and I just wanted to speak out in support of this project. I take care of several different dogs locally. I have one with me right now who's really excited about this project. We don't have a recreation area for dogs to play, so I'm frequently driving to Hiller Park in McKinleyville to give dogs a safe, nice space to recreate. And I'm just really excited for Glow in this project. I think it's a great idea and a perfect location for a walk at the marsh and a drink at the dog park. Thank you very much for your time.
Next caller.
Did that work?
Hi, my name's Ash Hansen, and I've lived in Arcata for 10 years now, and just wanted to speak in support of Hounds of Humboldt. I just think this is such a creative and community-driven idea that would add a lot of value to Arcata, to have a space where dog owners can enjoy themselves responsibly with their pets while connecting with others, I think is something that many of us have been wanting. Gloria has shown a real commitment to doing this the right way as well, and creating a respectful environment for both people and pets. And I believe she's done her homework and is ready for Hounds of Humboldt to be a responsible and positive presence in the community. And overall, I just think we need more local businesses that bring people together and that think outside of the box. And this is definitely one of them. So I hope you'll support Gloria's efforts and help her make this vision a reality. Thank you for your time.
Okay, with that, I'm going to close. Oh, we have
Oh,
one more
we have
person?
one more.
Okay, next caller.
Alexam, go ahead.
Hi, I hope you can hear me. My name is Alex Ozaki McNeil. I actually live in the neighborhood and have a small child. I participate in the same SIP planning meetings for kind of the restructuring of South G Street to make it more pedestrian and bike friendly. I walk with my toddler regularly in this neighborhood. So I just want to express support for new businesses in our neighborhood that bring people in a positive way to this area of the community. I think that the planning to make it more bike and pedestrian friendly particularly impact my family and the way I live my life in Arcata. And I think that that will also help people walk or bike with their pets to Gloria's business. So I think working in conjunction with how the city is already planning to further develop the area and her business plan, I think that both of those are going to be major assets for this area of the community. I think that the fence, if there's any way to work with the current fence, it would be ideal. Buddies is the business next door, and they do not have a driveway right next door. I believe theirs is fenced off, and they just like park their tow trucks in there. I also want to address noise because I have a small child and have had dogs in the neighborhood also. The tow trucks, the recycling trucks for Recology and the metal band that practices above the facility are significantly louder than any barking dogs that are currently in the neighborhood. So I really think all of the concerns can be addressed in a positive way for this business. And as somebody who lives in this part of the community, I just think that it will be a major asset for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, another caller.
Go ahead, JC.
Hey, I didn't really think about what I was going to say before I raised my hand, but I just wanted to support Gloria in her effort for this business. I do a lot of work with rescue and dogs in the community, and I just think it would be super wonderful to have another place where we could go to take them. As far as noise complaints go, all I have to say also is that it's not 30 unsupervised dogs in a building. There's going to be people there and owners there spending time with them. So I don't really think that that's going to be an issue. And I just think it would be wonderful to see South G continue to improve. And I think this is going to be an awesome project and really good for Arcata.
Go ahead, Carly.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Carly. I have known Gloria for quite some time, and I've worked with her mostly in a professional capacity. And I really want to just speak on behalf of her and just say that she really is an asset to the community. I've watched what she's done with very little and made it very big. She's huge on staying local and connecting and uplifting others around her. And I think you can never have too much of that, especially in Arcata, when that's kind of the mantra. More so than just this business, I see her having a platform as a major asset for Arcata. I see this going on to bring a lot more unity, more revenue. I can't think of a better place for this business down on South G and making that a safe and positive spot to be in. There's already so many great businesses, and I'm seeing a lot of dog friendly businesses open up elsewhere and in big cities. Um, I think it's not a matter of if, it's when we want to bring in something like this. And I can't think of someone who is more focused and driven to do the work, to bring it and jump over the obstacles that are going to come with the business. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with that, I'm going to close public comment. And so now we can finish up our deliberations. Dan, you look like... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. First, I'll start by saying I live on South G Street, so it's near and dear to my heart. And I'll also say that while it's not within the purview of this discussion and we technically can't deliberate on it, I do recognize that there's an issue with commercial vehicles parking specifically in bike lanes, and also maybe a lack of enforcement on South G Street when it comes to refuse, like you were saying. So potentially in another hearing, we could talk about resolving some of those issues. But back to the issue at hand. I specifically had a question. Well, one, I'll say I love seeing new businesses come to South G. I think it's so important. I also love to run, and the sidewalk ends pretty quickly on South G. And so looking at this condition that we have in the staff report, and I guess this is a question for staff, part of the staff report says that the city engineer requires sidewalks be provided to serve new commercial uses, and that a circulation plan will be provided by a qualified professional. And I'm kind of concerned about the lack of direction that the condition provides. They could have a professional who comes in and says there needs to be a sidewalk from where it ends until, where this business begins. But they could also say that really it's just within, that the frontage of the property that there should be a sidewalk. And then we've created a stranded asset. So I'm curious, what specifically is the applicant required to provide in the form of curb, gutter, sidewalk? And yeah, maybe we could start there.
That's a good question. I appreciate that. There is a kind of a nexus and a proportionality. So at the furthest extent, it would just be sidewalks in front of the property. It would not go beyond any off-site improvements.
But the city is doing other planning for that other, and so even if there was a stranded sidewalk right there, it would pretty soon be, connected up to these other sidewalks that we're currently planning as part of the SAMSIP, planning. Is that fair to say?
Yes, the city of Arcata has always encouraged infill sidewalk development.
Go ahead, Peter.
Gloria, this is a good idea. Good for you for coming up with it. I have a concern about dog poop. That outdoor area, how are you going to handle dog feces? Because right now it might be easy, but in a winter rainstorm, you're going to get water that carries dog poop into the street and into the storm drains and into the bay.
Project designed with also the dog owners in mind, and not only will there be like bar staff, but there will be staff dedicated to making sure the owners are being responsible. So dog feces wouldn't be sitting there around like it would be maybe at like a boarding facility or something waiting for someone to pick it up. It would be like when you walk your dog and you see it poop, you pick it up, and that is just the overall responsibility of the space. So it wouldn't be sitting there collecting water and going into runoff. It would be immediately disposed of. And then also going with examples that dog boarding facilities that do exist around here, like some of their structures around disposing of waste tie perfectly into this with how they get it properly disposed of. So that is something I've considered.
So are you saying that if a dog is running in that outdoor area, their owner has to be there with them?
Correct. Yep.
Any other comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I think it's a great project. I'm not in any way concerned about noise from it. I've been to similar facilities in other areas. We have a dog. I love dogs and beer, so it's a great combo. And I think your design looks wonderful. It looks like an inviting space. I'm impressed, and it's ambitious, and I'm excited for you. And I hate to nag on the fence thing, and really my only concern about it is the future enhancement of the space, of the street, hopefully for blocks. And I know it's premature to throw that in. However, and this is a question partly for staff, non-compliant structures can inhibit future design elements that we all want, like landscape. When fences are right out where they shouldn't be, then landscaping can't be where it's supposed to be. And I'm not saying that fence should be moved, and it does look safe, as you can see through it. One of the images that was on the screen a little while ago showed it with some kind of privacy slats. That apparently is not going to happen because of what I've heard. So just so that we're all on the same page, that if in the future sidewalks want to come in, or some kind of landscape and sidewalk combo, which would be even better, that things like a fence that, is, and I know we don't like to use the word grandfathered in, but it's a non-compliant fence that's kind of in the way of that bigger goal. That's where I would be a little concerned about it. And if we have to make leverage on it now, that's why I would say we better address this now before it's just there forever because we didn't do it now. And that's, Joe or Jen, that's a question that I will toss in your lap.
I've heard some discussion from the public and the commission itself regarding the fence and the ability to modify that fence. So as far as the condition of approval is, it was pretty straightforward. It went with the code. There's a lot of alternatives that could be made, and I think that the city's really interested in facilitating public safety and support small businesses. So there's kind of this mix. To get to your question about it impacting future development, improvements that are going to have a greater impact for our whole community along South G Street, I think that the fence itself, it's on private property. It probably will not impact any of the improvements that the city's going to be doing in the future as far as doing those in the public right-of-way. If there were improvements that come up through the SAMSIP is the acronym they're using, we would have to acquire those easements from private property owners to do that. And through that negotiations, I believe that any encroachments into those areas that we're interested in could be addressed.
So there'll be a revisit later if this more ambitious beautification and access thing happens.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think it's a wonderful project. Congratulations on your application.
So just on the fence, I guess my suggestion would be to modify the current condition in the packet so that it sort of only applies to an opaque fence, right? And so the existing chain link fence could remain, but if there is any plan to put in siding, that it only goes up to that 3 feet that you were talking about, which would comply, because you could build a 3-foot fence there under our code, right, up to the line. Am I understanding it correctly?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And do you mind if I add another comment? I believe that the applicant, I've heard some public comment regarding the safe space for the animals and keeping them kind of stress-free. And so what I thought I heard was that there would be probably, if you made that modification to that it was it was transparent from 3 feet above the fence. And so, and you could ask the client if that's if that 3-foot opaque area, is that the word? Yeah, is fine.
Yeah.
Already intended for it to be a 3-foot sort of, and safety precaution and then visibility for humans.
Go ahead, Abby.
I just want to say for the record that I just support it fully with the exemption for the fence, acknowledging that it can be opaque for up until 3 feet to provide that for reactive dogs or to reduce stress. And not knowing this was on the agenda today, I actually rode my bike through the area over the weekend, saw the pop-up. It was just great to see that new energy. It, I think, provides a vision for where our town should be going. And that is really a vast expanse of no man's land between the paved road and the curb there, where I could envision landscaping and sidewalk and all go in, even with the current conditions. So in favor of moving forward and not incurring extra costs to the business with dealing with the fence.
Abby?
Yeah, just as someone who writes special conditions and I know how tricky they can be, one, I think that the special condition, if we were to revise it to allow the fence to remain as is, we obviously note that while there can't be any landscaping in that corner of the fence because it might further reduce visibility. And then we have, I think it might just be easier to require a submittal of some revised plan that can be reviewed and approved by the city's engineer to ensure that while they're seeking an exception, it complies and is safe. Does that make sense, Joe?
Yes, what I would recommend, if that's the direction the commission is looking at, is revising condition of approval and taking some of the language that you had, Commissioner Strickland, to allow that flexibility. If I'm going to find the condition, it's under B2.1. So it says fence and screening plans for the unpermitted fence area located on South G Street. The dog park fence shall be revised to meet yard setbacks. We could do it, dog park fence shall be modified with clear view 3 feet and above.
Clear view 3 feet above, but also is it possible just to almost say they shall submit a revised plan that subject to review and approval by the city's engineer? Because while we can't think of everything right here on the spot, and rather than continue this and have it come back and have to approve it, I think the city's engineer would be the most appropriate person to review.
Yeah, the beginning of the condition of approval, it says there shall submit revised site floor plans and to review and approval by the environmental services, engineering, and community development departments. So already those conditions are embedded for further review by those directors of those departments.
Okay, yeah. So it seems more like striking that it shall be revised to meet yard setbacks might be just the easiest thing to do in this instance.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I had one more thing. Sorry. Let me go back to my notes. So I know that there was initially plans to have a food truck, and I know that they were. Okay. I was just gonna say I didn't know if there were hoops you had to jump through the city that maybe prevented you from wanting to do that, and so
Shouldn't have those, any food things at all.
Okay, I was just gonna potentially just ask city staff, if you ever did want to do food, would it require coming back for a permit amendment? Because it's not cheap to do such things, so I'm just wondering.
Not necessarily this permit. We do have already food, what do they call it? Outdoor food vendors is codified in the land use code. And typically it's an administrative review.
Okay.
So it doesn't require a public hearing.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I actually do have one more thing. Oh, go ahead, Joe. Did you have another response to
that? I know the fence is almost done with, but I would suggest that we make applicable findings for the fence discussion that the commission is going to allow a modification of the existing fence to accommodate the needs of the dog park while providing vision clearance.
Is everyone all right with those findings?
Yeah.
So made.
We can just say as noted.
We had unanimous approval of those findings, I think. All right. Well, so I just have one more thing. So in the general plan, we reduced our parking minimums, but we haven't updated the land use code. And, we left it sort of vague with this internal circulation and having to, and I don't want to not require the striping in the internal circulation, but I do think if it were up to me, I would grant a waiver on our parking minimum because, our plan under the general plan is to grant those waivers in the future. We just haven't gotten around to updating the land use code yet. And so I wanted to check in with other commissioners about how they feel about that.
I agree, but is parking even mentioned?
They have to have 7 spaces under,
that's right.
under the old code. And you can have 7 spaces. I just don't want to require you to have 7 spaces is what I'm saying. If you do your plans and it's 6 is better, I think that's fine. And so I'm checking with the other commissioners how they feel about that. Abby.
While I too don't like to require parking minimums, I think that any parking that we potentially don't require on site is going to be shifted to something like the Arcata Marsh. And at that point, you're kind of impacting public access in that way. Granted, the Marsh parking lot is huge, and in no way potentially would that happen. But I just, and we already have discussed how South G, there's nowhere to really park on the side of South G, and then you're getting into the bike lane. And so I think there should be some on-site parking. Granted, it doesn't potentially need to be 7 spaces. It should be able to accommodate some parking as people are going to be coming from Eureka and potentially McKinleyville to bring their dogs. So I think some on-site parking in this instance should be required.
Can I ask, what are your parking plans?
Then that's something that moving forward with like property owner, using certain spaces and then just the overall like square footage of how far back I can go. I do plan to have parking, a handful of spaces, but then I don't know if there's something either of you want to touch on.
I just would like to make a comment on it if I can.
I mean, he knows more around that.
It sort of opens a can of worms
Yeah.
because we'd have to sort of reopen public comment more generally, I think.
Yeah. There is plans for having a certain amount of parking spaces, whatever that ends up needing to be, but it's been talked about and spaced out and yeah.
Joe, they're not shown, right?
Currently, we just have the one accessible parking space shown.
Right, and so the way the condition of approval is currently written was that they'd have to come back to the city with a circulation plan, including 7 parking spaces. And so my suggestion was we could drop the including 7, and they could still have parking if they want. And I think most applicants probably would choose to have some parking because of their clientele. It's just the city mandating the level of parking, which we said we didn't want to do anymore in the general plan, and we're still doing in this project that I was calling attention to.
I'm in favor of the exemption.
I'm fine with that too.
I'm fine with that.
My only concern is that on a busy day, they project upwards of 60 people on a busy day. And so if it were 4 parking spaces, I'd be okay with that, but requiring only an ADA parking space is just not realistic. There will be cars, and they will park at the Marsh, or they will park along South G where there really isn't room for parking, especially with all the other commercial vehicles that are operating down there. So I would recommend we include at least 4 parking spaces on site and then also an ADA as a 5th.
Are we going to have this fight every time a new project comes after we update our land use code? Anyway, I'm okay with reducing it to 4 and moving on. How does the other commissioners feel about that?
I'm fine with 4, and I think it's time for a motion.
It sounds like the plan was already for, but.
It was 7.
And then it was a few. And I'll just say our planning practice has been accommodating ghost cars and back of the napkin estimates on parking for far too long. The result has been really inefficient parking practices and lack of incentive for pedestrianism, who are the primary users of that space. So, yeah, with you on that, Matt.
Okay, so I think we're adjusting it to 4 required parking spaces. Is that all right with staff?
Of course.
Okay. Okay, with all of those changes, do I have a motion on this application?
I move that we approve this application.
Make reference to the condition that we changed?
Yes, with the condition that was spoken of earlier.
There were 2, right? There's the fence and then the parking.
Yeah.
I'd like to second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have, congratulations on your application. We are
Good
now. We have no business items tonight, and so we can move on to correspondence and communications. Do we have any correspondence from Planning Commission members? Nope. Any from staff?
The City of Arcata Employees Association is having a crabs night tonight. And so if any of the commissioners want to swing by and say hello to our fine City of Arcata staff, feel free to do that. Go Crabs,
Great.
go.
There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.